planned a trip on which he intended to destroy his wife and did kill her lover.
here, and hello.
Hello, hello.
How are we all?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Alex, it's been a while.
It has. It feels like it has.
Yeah, it has. We've got a new setup. I don't know if anybody has noticed or anybody will notice. It sounds like Dan won't even be around tonight, so that's sad. But we're not here for Dan. We're here for you so that you can learn a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
So what is it we're going to do?
We're going to drink some beer.
Drink some beers. All right.
But we're going to find the difference between these two beers.
Yes, let's find the differences between these two beers. Let's talk about the last 10 days, 12 days, 2 weeks. What's been going on? Like, what have we all been doing? We weren't on Wednesday because
you were sick.
I came down with something fierce on Sunday, and dude, it took me down. I got off of work Sunday, and I didn't get back out of bed until Tuesday morning. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did get up and brew Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been kind of at it and kicking and slowly on the mend. I can tell you I feel 1,000% better than what I did at the beginning.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I had something like that too, and just takes you out.
Yeah, you
can't
missed,
even move.
You missed several days down there too.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the one that got me sick?
No.
You dirty dog.
I wasn't sick last week.
You dirty dog. It's all your fault. What about you? What have you been up to?
Working.
Yeah?
Moving beer around. Kegging beer.
Kegging beer, picking up my slack. Is that what's been going on?
No, you did the hard part brewing. I just had to.
I wanted to wait for you. I wanted you to brew with me. I wanted you to do it without me doing it. You've done it several times, but
See what I don't know.
Right. You said you didn't feel quite confident enough to do it yourself, and you want to fill out your notes a little bit more. Yeah. So I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to wait till 5 o'clock on Tuesday because I knew I was gonna feel like trash. So I felt pretty good in the morning, so I just got up and did it, and
it worked out.
Unfortunately, you worked during the day,
Yeah,
and that's terrible. But next time,
next
time it's all you. We'll do it on like a Saturday. No, because I work Saturdays.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll figure something out.
I could get started. I think the starting part, I could get started, and then most of the questions are at the whirlpool part. So.
Yeah, that's the easy part. I would have figured your questions would have been at the beginning.
I think the beginning. Well,
you can
pass the water test.
You gonna do your water tests?
Yeah.
You gonna get all that done?
Yeah, I think I could.
I have complete confidence. I don't think you need me around, but I'll be there one more
Till
time.
something bad happens, and I'm like, oh, whoa.
Well, I mean, then at that point, I'm only a phone call away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right. Well.
Yeah.
Shall we open something? Shall we start learning something?
We should.
I don't know what you have in the cans there. It doesn't look like they got marked.
They didn't.
They didn't get marked, so you're testing me.
But I know what they are.
You know which ones they are?
Yeah.
One of them's a little softer than the other ones?
Yes.
Well, Alex, please do the pleasures.
Well. Whoa. Camera's over here. No name beer.
No name beer. Yep. Those make a huge mess when you pour them. Please, like do it over a bucket.
Don't do it over.
Yeah, don't do it over my expensive electronics.
Oh jeez, you weren't lying.
Yeah. Trailers are terrible to pour out.
Why is that? Just the.
It's I think just the shape of the can.
Yeah. I'll pass that over to you.
Just the shape of the can, I think, more than anything. So we have one of two beers. We actually have both beers. We have two beers, and this is one of the two beers. And I'm actually not privy to which one this is. However, I think I could tell you.
I'm sure you can. Yeah.
This would be the new beer.
You would be correct with that.
719 Brown. And I want to talk about the differences between 19 Brown and what's the other beer?
Beam.
Beam.
The other beer is Beam.
Because they look very similar.
They do.
Right? They're kind of the same color. But I think when you pour a Beam, you're going to see a distinct difference between the two. But let's talk about aroma. And what is it that you smell in this one? And I know it's very subdued right now just because of how cold it is. You literally just kegged this beer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it being a little bit colder than what the beam will be is going to make a difference. When it's cold, the flavors do get muted. And that's kind of one of the reasons that light American lagers are served at 32 degrees because, I don't know, there's not a whole lot to taste. And when you do start tasting it, most people don't like it. So it's served super cold. Craft beer, on the other hand, is usually served a little bit warmer, 40 degrees, for instance.
To bring out those flavors and those aromas.
Now, my nose is not actually working a whole heck of a lot. Do you get anything on the nose?
Not really.
I don't get much, and I think
No.
part of that might just be, me recovering. I mean, you could probably hear it in my voice.
Yeah,
I sound
yeah.
a little funny. But I do taste. I can taste. And what is it that you taste?
Like a nutty kind of.
A nutty?
Yeah. A little bit.
Like, describe nutty. Can you describe nutty?
I don't. How do you describe nutty?
I don't know. That's what it is that I would like to learn today. How do you describe nutty? I don't really know. Like, think of different nuts that you've eaten. Peanuts.
Yeah.
Hazelnuts. Peanuts actually technically aren't nuts. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Fun fact. I don't know what they are. They're legumes. That's what they are. They're legumes. They're not nuts. But think of like tree nuts, like walnuts and pecans and like those kind of earthy, woody kind of those kinds of flavors. To me, that's nutty. There are lots of various other flavors. Hazelnuts are very distinct. They kind of have almost a bright, I would say, sort of orange kind of flavor to them. But it's still
like a nutty or earthy.
Yeah.
I like earthy. I kind of.
So that's kind of nutty. If it reminds you of a nut, then that would be nutty. If it reminds you of toast, if the flavors remind you of foods that you've eaten before, then that's how you would describe them. That's probably the best way to go about this. Have I tasted something like this before? And if so, what? So, taste it again. Anything?
No.
I think nutty actually comes across very well. And in fact, even in the mouth feel, how does it feel on your tongue after you've drank it? To me, I kind of get a very drying kind of it's there and then it goes away and now my tongue is left lingering. Much like walnut. You eat a walnut and it just leaves your mouth very dry.
Okay.
I mean, that's the same kind of thing that I'm kind of getting out of this. Another key thing that you can do when you take the drink, hold it in your mouth, kind of move it around a little bit, and then swallow. And after you swallow, exhale through your nose. So all of that beer flavor is now going to come across those olfactory senses. 90% of flavor is smell, after all.
Okay.
So take a drink and then exhale through your nose. Yeah.
It does bring out.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It becomes much more interesting. There's a little bit of a sweet, almost a caramel, but I don't want to say caramel. It might be a little bit darker than a caramel. So think of sugar and caramel. The more you cook it, the more flavor you're going to get out of it. Molasses is the very darkest of a caramel. If you think of your square candy cubes being a caramel, and then a toffee, a hard, brittle kind of candy, that's just sugar that's been cooked a little bit longer past caramel. Those are the same kind of flavors. The more you cook it, the more melanoidins that you're going to get, the richer it's going to become, the kind of darker, more burnt sugar flavors that you're going to get. So there's a whole spectrum of caramel flavors that you can get. And we'll get in, when we get into beam, you're going to taste a whole lot of those. This brown wasn't meant to be a caramel beer. It was meant to be a toasty, nutty, not quite roasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't taste a whole, like, it's not really roasty.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks dark and it looks like it could be roasty, but it's not.
Right, there's no coffee flavors. There's no chocolate flavors.
Yeah.
There's no really dark flavors.
Mm-hmm. How does this relate to, like, Kolkar? Because like, they both are lighter.
They're completely different styles.
They are, yes. I know
and the grain bills are completely different. So Kolkar was, as far as the grain that goes into them, Kolkar was 6-row and corn and just a handful of really dark grains just for the color. This 719 brown, the color is coming from darker roasted malts. There's actually chocolate malt in it. Not a lot, but there is some in there because we didn't want roast flavors necessarily. But even darker base malt grains. There's amber malt. There's brown malt. All those tubs that you've seen on the back that we've never touched, they go into this beer.
This is the beer.
Right. And when you kiln the grain a little bit longer, you get color out of it, but you also start introducing those melanoidin flavors that I was just talking about with the sugar. You start introducing those into the grain. So your Pilsner malt's going to be your lightest, and you're not going to have any. Your 2-row, and then your Maris Otter and the Golden Promise that we use in Beam. But then you start getting into your Munich malts, and then your Vienna malts, and then your amber malts, and then your brown malts. And that's just them being cooked a little bit longer just to introduce more richer grain flavors. And that's where your nuttiness is coming from. That's where I actually don't think there's any crystal malt in this beer. So that caramelly flavor is actually coming from that just richer roasted grain. What do you think?
At first I didn't really like it, but I mean it's came along. I've also tasted this one the whole cycle, so I think that really helps me on enjoying a beer when it's done.
I really think that it does make a difference because the first time you taste it out of that fermenter, how does it taste?
It's sugar water.
Not good.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
And I had Beam and this one, and I taste them at the same time. Like they taste exactly the same. Like I could not.
When they were brand new?
Yeah. When they were brand new, they tasted exactly the same. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. But then the sweetness came out of this one. And we weren't left with that caramel richness that, Beam is kind of known for. What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah?
It's another one that surprises me that I like it because it's dark.
Because it's dark? Why do you judge your beer so much based off of
I don't know. I think it's always just in my mind that I don't like dark beers.
Right.
But then the more that I try them, I'm like, they're actually...
So what if you drank a beer without ever seeing it?
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, it could be the blackest thing. Your eyes don't actually have taste sensors. And that's
even though in my head I think they do.
That's exactly what I tell a lot of our customers is don't be a beer racist. Your eyes can't taste anything. Right?
Yep.
Because it's like they see it and they just 100% perceive what it is that beer is going to taste like.
And that's exactly what I do.
Everybody does.
It's a dark and I don't like that.
Everybody does.
I'm not going to like that.
But I don't know. Like this actually looks brown.
It does.
It's got some nice highlights. There are some red highlights to it. But sitting on the table here, I can see my fingers, and it's like very
it's like a golden kind of
it's very
brown.
like goldeny brown. I really enjoy the color. I enjoy the color of Beam too, though, like that kind of red ruby. And when it's super clear and you can like read everything and it's all tinted like that, it makes me happy for sure.
How many times have you? I know this is a beer that you've made before, but
this might be the second time. Maybe third time at the most.
Okay.
It might be the third time. However, this is the first full 5 barrels I've ever made.
Oh, okay.
So the other 2 times, if there were 2 times, I think there were. They were early on, and I decided that we were going to start doing half batches of what we were doing, just because I'd had bad experiences, mainly with the IPAs, of them just like kind of sitting around. So I figured if we just do a half batch, then I can make new beers more often, and I don't have to. I mean, even if it sits around, there's only a half batch of it to sit around. So
you don't have a whole bunch.
It won't be 6 months. It won't be 8 months of it sitting around. And it worked out really well for quite a while doing the half batches. Whenever I wanted to do something new, that was what I did. And whenever I did hazy, I always did a half batch of hazy train just because I wanted it to be as fresh as possible. But I ended up making that beer every 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Because, it does sell kind of well. And then I only have four kegs of it.
It still takes just as long to make a half batch, right?
Yeah, it takes the same amount of time. So I've since abandoned the half batch thing, and we just, if it doesn't move, it doesn't move, and we just kind of sit on it. But
yeah, I saw the name, and I'm like, I wonder if that's a new beer. And then I was talking with Vicenta about it, and she pulled out an old card of all the beers, and 719 Brown was on there. I'm like, well, it's not the first time he's made this one. And
yep. So I saw one of those cards. I was sitting back in the office doing taxes, and I saw one of those cards. And I was looking at the list, and then I went through my recipe logs. I was like, when did I make this one? And when did I make this one? And when did I make this one? So it was kind of like, what's the time period of when I had all of these beers available? And I think that was like January of 21.
Okay.
When those cards, that card that you saw, I think was January of 21. So 4 years ago. Quite a different list.
Yeah, it is.
I think there was a bourbon barrel stout on there. And is there anything else that you can taste in the beer? Any other flavors?
I'm sure there is. I just don't know how to describe them.
You don't know how to describe. Well, think of foods. Think of different foods that you've had.
I wouldn't say it's like a bready taste, but it kind of.
That's very good.
Yeah, it's.
I like that bready.
Like a bready. But it's not like you're eating a loaf of bread. It doesn't taste like that, but like a. I don't know what kind of bread it would be.
Right. No, you can't give me like a specific kind of bread, but like if you drink it and you think, man, this kind of tastes like bread. That is a fantastic way to describe a beer. This is bready. Now, does it go past bread? Does it become toast? Do you taste toast? Is it cooked bread?
Yeah, I think that might be.
It doesn't have to be. I'm not saying it is. But even toast, like think about your experiences at breakfast and when you order toast. Sometimes like you basically get a piece of bread. Other times you get that perfect, perfect
toast.
Piece of toast, and you're like, this is fantastic. Or they like way overcook it. Like those 3 or 4 experiences you have, it's all toast.
But it's completely different.
They're
taste.
all completely different. So where on the toast spectrum are you tasting? Like, is it bread? Is it toast? Is it burnt toast?
Burnt
is it that
toast.
Perfect toast? Is it buttered toast? Please don't say it's buttered, because buttered is, if you were to say this beer tastes like butter,
no, it doesn't.
Butter's a bad flavor to have in beer.
I was talking with DJ, and he said he had a maple bacon donut beer.
Maple bacon donut.
The beer. It was like a Pepto-Bismol pink. He was describing how bad that was because meat does not ferment, and it does not taste good fermented.
Yeah. You can actually get bacon flavors without actually using bacon, without actually using meat. You get it from smoked malt, Rausch malt, as it's called in Germany. Rausch malt. It can give like a bacony flavor. You can get wood character, you can get smoke character, or you can just get like bacon, which is like in my opinion, not like a good flavor.
Yeah.
But if it's something you're going after, for instance, if you want to make a maple bacon donut
Beer.
right? Maple, how would you get a maple flavor? How would you chase a maple flavor?
Is that malt based?
It could be.
Get it from the malt.
Describe a maple flavor to me. Can you do that?
Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Very, very sweet.
Right.
Like a darker kind of.
Right.
I don't know how you would achieve that though.
How do you? Well, think about how you make maple syrup. How do you make maple syrup?
From maple, a maple tree.
Maple sap.
Yeah.
Do you know what sap is?
Yeah.
It's pretty much just water. How do they get syrup out of that?
Extract it.
They just boil the crap out of it.
Boil the water.
Boil and
off.
boil and boil and boil. They'll take a gallon of water and boil it down to a half a cup or less, right? And when you remove all that water, now all you have is that
It's like concentrate,
sticky sugar, right? But you've also introduced so much heat that you're getting those melanoidin flavors. So now you have sweet, you have burnt, you have that caramel. That's, if I were to say maple syrup, I would say sweet, I would say dark, I would say rich. You know, rich being those melanoidin flavors that you get from cooking something. Yeah?
Yeah. So how would you get a maple flavor in a beer?
Grain. I would use grain, or I would use maple syrup and just like cheat. Like, because what is maple syrup?
Sugar.
Nothing more than sugar.
Yeah.
So if you want to replace
Would
it,
that ferment out?
yeah, 100% it would ferment out because it's just sucrose.
Yeah.
And sucrose is 100% fermentable. You may ferment out some of the aromas, some of the flavors, like we talked about with the fruit and adding the fruit at 50 to 60% attenuation because we want to hang on to some of them. Adding the sugar so early in the boil, you're going to ferment off. You're going to boil off some of those aromas and flavors, but some of them will linger.
Yeah.
And you can supplement them with your grain choices, with your caramel malts, with your C45s and your C120s. I would go darker. If I wanted to make a maple flavor, I would go darker on the C colors.
Okay. Is that what those C's are? I guess I've never asked that before. I know there's your C45 and C77
and C extra dark.
Yeah.
The bigger the number, the darker
it is.
And richer. And they're all completely different flavors. There's one called caramel, which is actually like a C15. So
that's light.
Yeah, we have 15, we have 45, we have 77, and then extra dark is like a 120 to 150.
And those are all like caramel flavors.
They're all caramel flavors. The darker you get, the richer the flavors are. You start to get like stone fruit, like a plum and a raisiny kind of those kinds of flavors out of them. It kind of transcends past caramel and moves into dark fruit flavors, figs. But you still get that sweetness from it as well, because what you're doing is you're taking that grain and you're turning it into sugar inside the husk itself. Like that's what a caramel malt is basically just sugar inside that grain kernel.
The husk. I guess I've never asked about the grain. Like I see it there all the time and I mill it up.
We still haven't tasted any.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you? So you milled up this brown ale stuff? Did you taste?
No.
No, you milled up Beam.
Beam. Yeah.
Did you taste any of those grains?
No, I didn't.
No. That's something we're gonna do. It's something I'm going to make you do.
I think it'll be like so I know what those flavors are coming from.
And we're just gonna start with base malts. We're gonna start with Pilsner. Is it Nancy's toast?
Yeah, that was my babysitter, and I loved her toast. There's something different about her toast, but I think it was the butter in her toast. She just had the perfect amount of butter. It was like a melted butter.
Maybe it was real butter.
I think it was. I can't believe it's not butter or something like that. But she always had like the perfect toast and the perfect butter on there, so it'd like melt into it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part of like buttering stuff. to get it to melt, to get it to spread nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she always had a way.
And then you got to get it to melt in.
And she always she stacked them on top, so then they'd all kind of like melt that way. So like the top one wouldn't get all melted, but the middle ones were like perfect. And I'd eat like 4 or 5 pieces of bread. It'd just toast.
Was Nancy here in town?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, over kind of by the high school.
Over by the high school.
Yeah.
Was she a good babysitter? Was she nice to you?
She was, and she made good toast. But then I'd go home and try to make the same toast because I loved the toast there, and I could never do it.
Could never do
Yeah.
it. Well, I think bread selection has something to do with it as
I
well,
do, yeah.
right?
I can't even remember.
When was the last time you bought an expensive loaf of bread?
Never.
Never?
Never. I buy the cheapest bread I
Right,
can.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was on a train, and being on a train, like, you can't just stop and have a snack. You can't go to the refrigerator. You have to take your food with you. So I would take snacks with me, and I decided once upon a time I was just gonna like take a loaf of bread and take a jar of peanut butter and take a jar of jelly, and I was just like make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I bought an expensive loaf of bread once and just threw it in my thing, not knowing, like, I was like, I didn't want the cheap store brand bread. But I'll tell you what, like, that first sandwich I made out of it, the bread's thicker. It's more robust. It has a different flavor. It's not just air.
Yeah.
You put that peanut butter on it, it spreads super nice. You don't just tear the bread in half. And then you take that first bite, and it's just like a cushion of bread and
The best thing
peanut
you've
butter.
ever
Dude,
put
it
in
was
your mouth,
fantastic.
yeah.
I was like, holy cow, this loaf of bread is worth the $5 I paid. You know, because the cheap loaf was 99 cents.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to spend $5 on this loaf of bread.
Do you still buy expensive loaves of bread?
No. No, I don't do the grocery shopping. Tony
Yeah.
takes care of all that, and she buys the cheap bread. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you get what you pay for sure.
Yeah.
Bread, for sure. But if I were to make my own loaf of bread, there would be a vast difference between my bread and, you know, because I've put time and effort into it, and I'm not just trying to sell the cheapest product that I can. And it makes a difference. You know, having homemade rolls on Thanksgiving versus store-bought.
Yeah.
However, like, those Hawaii brand rolls are super tasty.
They are.
For sure. Nancy, leader.
Yeah.
I don't know Nancy. She's the best babysitter ever.
She was. She was like my only babysitter.
Shall we? Let's
you
switch.
Want to finish this one, or
let's
are we
switch.
switching? We switching already. This one's a little bit stiffer. It was kind of hard to pour out of the keg thing.
It is.
I don't know if I did that the right way, but
Probably not. And it was flat. And being a little more carbonated, it will taste different when you when we do get around to tapping it in about a week. It will be different just because it will be more carbonated.
Yeah, that was a little difficult.
Yeah. And I knew what I was asking of you when I asked you to pull it off as you were kegging it.
Yeah,
You were very aggressive with that.
that was.
This is how we learn.
This is how not to pour a beer.
This is how to not pour a beer. I don't know. I don't think you did a terrible job. Are we out of paper towels?
No, I got one right
Oh,
here.
yeah. I gave you that one.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one will pour easier. That first one sucks.
It does. Comes out weird.
I think it's just where the hole on the can is
Definitely.
and how full it is. Perfect. That looks like a great
Yeah.
pour.
It's a little bit too much head there.
No.
No, that's where you want the head at.
That's exactly where you want it. So I've always said with these glasses, your pour should be
Like a finger.
one finger above the B, and then the rest should be a nice cap of foam. And that's presentation. And that's, in my opinion, what a glass of beer should look like.
Look at that red.
Right. I mean, this is far more red versus brown.
It is.
The aroma is vastly different. This smells sweet. This smells like a caramel, like a dark caramel. I haven't had a Beam in a long time.
You haven't?
No.
I've been tasting Beam for like 2 weeks now.
Right, because it was Beam, Brown,
Yeah.
Beam.
Yeah.
It is good.
It's all right.
It is good. It's sweet.
It is sweet. It is.
There are caramel flavors.
It's chocolatey. Like
You get chocolate.
maybe it's that sweetness that's coming from what I can taste as chocolate.
So think about this, and like this is that dark crystal malt that we were just talking about. Take a drink, exhale through your nose. Now think figs and plums and raisins.
Raisins. Yeah.
Raisin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Which I like raisins.
Do you?
I do.
I actually don't get the chocolate at all.
It might just be the sweet kind of, I don't know. It's like on the back end.
Right. And that's where the chocolate's always been. It's always been on the finish, like at the back of your tongue. After you swallow.
Yeah.
That you kind of get a chocolate note.
Yeah.
It's not a chocolate beer.
No.
It's just one more note. And that's that pale malt that we put into it, which gives us our color and that just kind of extra little.
Just another thing in there.
Right.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this beer sells great. And it has.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the most popular down there.
For sure.
Yeah. It's crazy how popular it is compared to everything else.
I mean,
yeah.
so you cake Beam 2 days ago, and we just brewed
Beam again
Beam on Tuesday.
Yeah, because we're almost out of cans.
Yep. Which I still need to order. Not cans, labels.
Oh yeah, we only have 700.
768 labels.
Well, that's about how many cans we have, I think.
How many cans we have?
Yeah.
No, we have 7. We have 7 layers. We have 7 layers of cans.
7 times, what is it, 300?
368 per layer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a whole batch, we need not quite 4 layers to get through a whole batch. So we almost have 2 whole batches of cans.
Okay.
But it is about time to order another pallet of cans. We
and the grain. The grain, I was looking at that. It's probably not time yet, but looking at the grain, I'm like, it's dwindling down.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, and it sneaks up on me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like...
Because I remember the last one you ordered that grain, and I'm like, this is going to take forever to go through. And then now it's like,
Well, when did we order that? When did we order that grain?
Before summer, I think.
September?
Yeah.
I think it was September.
Yeah. It was like right around when I started, I think.
Oh, was it in June?
I think it was.
I mean, we have date codes on all of it. So.
Maybe a little after. So September might be.
Yeah, I remember you had to help unload it.
Yeah.
You're like, how are we gonna get this pallet back here, because we've got the big shaker table in the way, and I was like, I don't know, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
We got it back there. Did I unload the whole thing?
I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
dirty
I thought
dog.
you squeezed it by the fridge or the cooler there and squeezed it through.
Oh, I might have had to move the
Yeah.
freezer out of the way.
That's
to
what
get
I
the
think you
pallet
did.
by.
Yeah.
That's
you
right.
squeezed it by and then just plopped it there.
And then let somebody else take care. I think DJ might have helped unload it. Yeah. But definitely, like, when we order grain, we have to label the bags. When did we get this? How long has this been around? Make sure that
Rotating. Yeah.
You're familiar with rotating stock.
Actually, when I bought that beer and the person there was, you still working at Domino's? I'm like, no. It's been almost a year.
Did you check the date on that? When
I
you
didn't.
bought that?
I didn't.
You did not?
But I trust it because it's
Because what?
Bush Light.
That
Where's my date? Let's see. June 2025.
June 2025?
That's probably a Best Buy date.
Yeah, that's probably a Best Buy date. June of 2025. That's 5 months. That's got to be super fresh, because I think they only put 180 days on them.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, good for you.
I pulled a good one.
I guess maybe I should change brands because of how much it goes through.
I trusted that.
I don't think you can get Bud Light that fresh.
Really?
Yeah. It's the same distributor. Like Busch, it's
Yeah.
made in the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, Busch and Bud Light, like, it's all Anheuser-Busch. That 12-pack there is probably made in Fort Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken a brewery since we talked? A brewery tour since we talked about that?
I need to. I need to just take a Saturday off and go up there. Do they do it, like, year-round?
Yeah.
Is that a year-round thing?
Mm-hmm. They might be open on Sundays. I might be able to get a tour on a Sunday. I would look, but I don't want to disturb the stream because who knows. If I had to guess, I would say your mom's the only one watching us.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. I thought day would be the day everyone would be on.
The day's
Saturday night.
Well,
no one's
everybody's
doing
got
anything.
stuff going on.
Yeah.
Second chapter just turned 2, which I wasn't even aware of. I don't get on Facebook much anymore.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Maybe I
either.
should pay more attention. I should have gone down there.
That would have been fun.
Dan's on his way back, which means Dan and I are just coming back from second chapter. I would be willing to bet that Tony's driving, and Dan had a
few beers.
wonderful time, if I had to guess.
Did they do anything special for their 2-year?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize it had been 2 years. Man.
Time flies.
Time flies. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where time's getting away from me. Like, my style book being 10 years old
Yeah.
just blows my mind.
Well, the brewery's
I
like...
was going to read it. Like, I was going to read Browns, and I was going to read Scottish. But then I was like, every time I read this book, it just kind of lets me down. And it doesn't tell me what I need to know. Jody and I took the Fort Collins Brewery tour before you were born. I took the Fort Collins Brewery tour.
I did not know that.
Was the Fort Collins Brewery in the big location where they ended up selling, or was it in the tiny little steel building where they kind of opened and started at? Because they switched. They got bigger, and then they moved to a
big
new
building.
fancy place.
Which one did you take the tour in? The big fancy one?
Both.
Oh.
Both, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're well versed in the beer.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's not that far away, so that one's easy to...
And DJ and I, when we really got into beer, like, it was... that's where we went.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go to this one. Oh, and it was kind of, I heard a new place opened. Let's go check it out. And we'd been to, like, all the places in Fort Collins, and we knew all the... I mean, we had our favorites for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed very big. Did it have a big... was there a restaurant? Or was there a canning line in the basement?
She probably doesn't even know what a canning line looks like.
If she took a brewery tour, if she took the Fort Collins Brewery tour, then she knows.
Can you see their canning line? Is it a huge, massive canning line in the big new one? Newer one.
It was, but they're not around anymore. They actually they sold to Red Bridge, which is a Canadian company. Even those guys closed. Fort Collins Brewery. But if it was before you were born,
before 2002.
Before 2002, then I would be willing to bet she might be talking about New Belgium.
Probably.
Or Odell. It had a room at the end that got free samples.
I think that's every brewery tour.
She's talking about the Anheuser one. Yes. She's talking about the Anheuser tour.
You get free samples at the end of that one?
Yeah, at the end of the tour.
Not during the tour?
Not during the tour, at the end of the tour. Yeah. Yeah, Anheuser, the facility in Fort Collins, the one your mom's talking about, now that I finally understand, is a huge place. I mean, it's Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, yeah.
They make millions and millions and millions of barrels of beer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was happy when we hit 170 this year. I was like, yay.
And they're doing
literally one
yeah.
batch they do is, 3-4 times than what we do in a whole year. It was a free tour, so we thought it would be fun. I thought it was a little boring. Your mom thought the brewery tour.
Do you want to see a Brewery 719 tour?
Yeah, why haven't you come in and like taken another brewery tour?
Yeah, that'd be a much more interesting brewery
I've actually
tour.
witnessed your son give the tour.
I have. Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I've gave it a couple times.
He doesn't have the smart little quips that I've come up with throughout the years, but
What smart little quips.
He's very informed with what he's doing, and he can give you a very thorough tour.
What's a smart little quip? Something fun to add to my tour?
Yeah. So my favorite one is when you're talking about going from the heat exchanger to the fermenter and adding the yeast. My favorite one is, as a brewer, I don't actually make beer. I make yeast food.
Yes.
Right?
I've heard this one.
It.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Which is true, though.
I don't actually make beer. I make yeast food.
Which is true.
That
you,
is 100%
you don't
true.
you don't make beer.
I don't make beer.
The yeast makes the beer.
The yeast makes the beer.
Mm-hmm. This podcast is probably the same thing as the tour. Now, the tour. What even do you do on a tour? Just walk around, see the things? Do they talk about them?
Yeah, they talk. So you have a guide.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them you're in a group. Like when you give a tour, it's one or two people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you go on a bigger tour, it's 20, 30 people. And you're all being led around. It's like walking through a museum almost.
Mm-hmm.
The smaller places get a little bit more intimate, like kind of what your tour does. The bigger places, you're literally walking down a hallway and looking through glass. And you're like...
So you're not there in the same room as the tanks and everything?
I mean, it depends on the size of the place.
Mm-hmm.
The Anheuser one, they actually take you into the lagering room.
Yeah, you told me about that.
The best part. But there's a wall that separates.
Okay.
So you can't just like go across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was purposely built knowing there's going to be tours.
Mm-hmm. Commercialized.
And you're back behind a wall.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no glass in front of you because they want you to feel the chill.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to smell because that's the best smell on the whole tour. But you'll see the guys in the back like doing their thing, and they're like, Jesus, here comes another one. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure they probably get
It's
tired
like the
of it.
windows on our place, and people are like looking in. You're like,
please stop.
yeah, that's exactly it. That's 100%
Yeah.
how they feel.
I had the door open today while I was kegging.
Mm-hmm.
I had to answer a couple questions.
Yeah. What question?
What are you doing? Oh, is this CO2 blowing out? Yes. Yes, it is. I answered that twice. 2 different people.
Is that CO2?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's yeast farts.
It is. Oh, that's cold. Yeah. It's 34 degrees.
Yep. Did how much was left in the tank when you got done?
When I got done kegging?
Yeah.
There's like 3 gallons or something.
3 gallons.
Yeah, I got...
Did you just turn it on? And just like into the drain?
No, because I had to try to fill that crowler.
Oh.
Yeah, that crowler was filled with the bottom stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's as it should be. How did you go about putting it in the can? Did you bleed the tank off first?
No.
No?
And I thought that's what my problem was.
That's 100% what your problem was.
So I was just getting straight foam.
Right. You just
it,
cracked it, and it's just like, just foam.
Yeah.
If you bleed the tank off,
okay.
Take your racking arm and open it up. And at that point, you can even open your spickle valve and let it all off. And then go pick up something and do whatever and come back 5 minutes later. And there's not going to be any pressure on that tank.
And it'll pour a lot easier.
And it'll pour 100% easier. You'll be able to, so at that point, you don't have anything pushing, so you're going to have to use gravity. So you're going to have to take the hose off of the tank and get it lower than where the liquid level is. And then you can just open it 100%.
Up and it'll just come out.
It's just going to be just like a faucet pouring out. It's going to be foamy. And when it goes into the can, it's going to react, but it's not going to be just foam into the can.
That's
I'm
what
sure
it was.
it took 3 gallons to get that one can.
It did.
With pressure.
It did. Like I filled it up and then I let it sit for a little bit, and then I was like, man, I know. So I know there's an easier way to do this. So I like held it sideways and kind of like hit it at an angle, trying to get like the edge of it in there, and that's how I ended up topping it off. But that's also how I knew it wasn't all the way full because I could squeeze it. I'm like, it's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job.
Yeah, I'm like, it's close enough.
You made it work, and that's what it comes down to down there. Anything we do down there, like, do I know what I'm doing? Nope. Can I get it to work?
Do I know what I need to do?
Yep.
This is what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. It's like fixing the furnace. Did I know how to fix the furnace? Nope.
But you fixed the furnace.
Did I know what was wrong with the furnace? Nope. But we figured it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's warm back there.
It is now. Yeah. I had to take my jacket off back there.
Did you?
Yeah. It was a little hot moving around.
I'm gonna have to turn it down. I gotta pay for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, does having the brown change your perception of beam?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You still don't like it?
No.
Why? Is
I
it
don't
the
know.
sweet?
I think it is.
Because it's this glass that I just had is not chocolatey, so you can't say it's because of the chocolate.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the raisiny. Maybe you don't really like raisins.
I do like raisins. I like grapes. I like raisins.
You like plums?
I can't say I've had a whole lot of plums.
Do you like figs?
Can't say I've ever had a fig.
Have you ever had a fig Newton?
No.
What?
No.
Fig Newtons are the cookies that
Yes.
you can break apart
Yes.
and put back together.
Yes, I know what they are, but no.
You've never had a fig
No.
Newton? What?
No. That's before my time. Those were popular.
That's not before your time.
I know what they are.
You can
but
still buy fig Newton. Can you still buy fig Newtons?
I don't know. Where are you buying them at?
At the grocery store. In the cookie aisle.
Can't say I've looked hard for them.
It's like figs and shortbread.
Yeah, no.
Wow. What? I bet.
Do you buy figs on the regular?
No.
Yeah. Have you tried to buy a fig anytime?
You can't
Fig
buy
Newton?
I don't think you can buy figs.
Buy a fig?
Fig Newtons? I haven't bought a fig Newton in a long time. But they're tasty.
Is it raisin?
They're kind of like raisins.
Yeah, no, I've never had one.
It might be a dried fruit. A fig I might actually know because there's a fig tree. Huh. I don't actually know what a fig is. But I can tell you fig Newtons are tasty.
My mom said I don't like fig Newtons, so I never bought them for the boys. See?
Oh.
See, that's why I never, because she doesn't like
You
them.
break them
So
in half and you put them together.
she doesn't like them. I've never had them.
My mom, lucky for me, doesn't like liver and onions.
Mm,
So I've never had liver and onions.
yeah, I've never had liver and onions either. What do you got here? Which one you want? You gonna finish these or?
Yeah, we got to finish it.
Yeah,
Because once you open a crowler,
you have to finish
you
it.
have to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do you want to finish with?
Well, I don't know what they are. I think this one's the brown. I'll finish the brown.
No. We're going to both have a glass of each.
Okay.
So which
okay.
one do you want to drink last?
The brown.
Okay. Well,
I think this one's beam.
let's finish the beam.
I think this one's beam. Is that beam? That's beam.
I would say just based off of the bubbles, that's beam.
You know what I've been enjoying a lot recently?
What's that?
White Ale Express.
Have you?
I have.
Do you still like it?
Yeah. I have like one a day.
Do you?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know why. It just is really.
What about everybody else in the tap room?
They like it. At least that's what they tell me.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah. I think it's. I had to move two more kegs in there.
Did you?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at sales numbers in a couple of weeks, and I was actually thinking about that because I was like, I would really like to can white ale because I think it's that good. My personal opinion, I think it's that good. But and taproom reception originally was this is that good.
Mm-hmm.
But any new beer, when we put the brown on,
Yeah.
people are gonna like lose their mind, and it's the best fucking beer we've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually got me thinking, like, is white ale still up there in sales? It's not ever going to surpass Beam.
No,
I can almost 100% guarantee you Beam is at the top of the list. But if it can surpass Mainline, then 100% I'll put it in again.
My only thought is I don't know if I made it again, if it would taste the same.
It might not.
Yeah, that's what, especially because of the yeast.
Because you don't have control. I mean, you do
a little bit.
And especially this is something that, like, I've never talked to you about. Yeast cell count, yeast cell viability, repitching yeast. There's a whole lot more we should be doing when we're repitching yeast and saving yeast. And for instance, Beam, we just like put into all of the yeast. So there may be a flavor difference between this Beam and the Beam that's in the fermenter right now, just because of how much more yeast we fermented with. And even you said something to the extent of, it's at 3.9.
Yeah, it moved so fast.
Fast.
Yeah.
Because there was so much yeast in there. So because there was so much yeast, we didn't get the growth that we got on the first batch. And that growth is what gives you the flavors that come from the yeast. However, USO5 is a very clean yeast, so hopefully, like, there's not a whole lot of yeast flavors in there, and it shouldn't make a difference.
But that BW20, that's all yeast flavors.
Right.
Like,
so
you're getting all those off flavors.
What do you do to control that growth and that strain? Your beer has to be the same, but that's the easy part. In my opinion, that's the easy part. The grains that you put in, your mash temperature, like everything on brew day with the brew house, that's the easy part, making it the same. Controlling your fermentation temperature is easy enough. It's just set it on the
temperatures,
Getting the same amount of yeast in there can be easy, but that becomes expensive. Right? Because if you just use fresh yeast, you have the same amount of yeast, and it's going to go through the same growth cycle. When you start reusing their yeast, now you need to start looking at how much yeast you're actually putting in to get this much growth. And how much live, viable yeast are you putting in? Because you can put in 12 pounds, but do you have 12 pounds of
stuff that's going to
viable
that's going to
yeast,
work,
or do you have 12 pounds of dead yeast? Which those brinks that we have in the cooler, that's probably 12 pounds of dead yeast at this point, because we haven't done anything with them. We haven't fed them. We haven't done anything to them. So using fresh yeast is the best way to replicate that. It's the easiest way to replicate that. It may not necessarily be the best way to do it. The best way would be to know exactly how much yeast you have, how much live yeast you have, and how much live yeast you're going to put into this beer. And then doing that exactly the same, batch after batch after batch. That's where you really hone in on your consistency, on the repeatability of batch to batch to batch to batch.
That's what I've been thinking about with that. Like, how to remake it the same.
I don't know. I mean, the only way we're going to know is to try it again.
Should try it, yeah.
But are we going to remember enough about this batch when we make that batch?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to tell the difference? Are they going to be the same?
And even I think if they are a little different, I don't think many people will be able to. Yeah.
Slight variations, especially at our scale. Slight variations I don't care about. Beam is a little bit different every single time we make it. But it's close enough that it doesn't really matter.
Most people won't be able to. Unless they're in there every single day drinking it and trying.
So,
and if they know, I'm sure if you pointed out that, hey, this is a different batch than that last Beam, then I think if they were in there every day drinking it, then they would be able to tell.
It's when they know that it's a different batch that they complain about it. And it's when it becomes a different batch right in the middle of one of their sessions. Like when the very last keg of this goes.
And you put in a new keg that's a different batch.
And you put in a new keg of a different batch. or you make a big deal about tapping a new batch. They'll be like,
"This is different.
It's different.
This isn't as good as the last
Right.
one."
This is crap. I've got to drink something else now. Clarity is also an indicator, which is why I didn't want to put this brown on right now, because it is so fresh. You rushed this beer, which good job. That's exactly what I want you to do.
But
when
didn't even think about
we're
that.
super busy, that's exactly what I want you to do.
I didn't even think about that. And
I know.
I usually don't. Like, I'm like, all right, well, this is ready to go. Let's move it out and get it done. Get it done.
That's how I've trained you. So I cannot say don't do this because that's what I want you to do. That's why I hired you on, because I needed that. I needed somebody to take care of the beers as fast as they could so we could turn over the tanks. But it's January.
Yeah.
And
it has slowed down a little
we
bit.
have tank space. So, I mean, if we have tank space, let the beer age in the tanks. Yep.
Which, I didn't even think about when you mentioned that. I'm like, it does taste different just sitting in that tank. The longer it sits in there.
My biggest, if you didn't realize that, I would have said, let's think about mainline. It's because there are times where like we have to rush it through as fast as we can, and we tap it as soon as it's done, and you pour it, and it's cloudy, and
that's not what we want.
It tastes like it should, but it's not quite there. But then you come back to it 3 weeks later, and it's crystal clear, and it tastes like it should, and it's just time. That's all it takes.
Which is hard, especially when we're busy.
Yeah,
because you don't have that time to.
Right.
Hey, we're gonna.
And it's because we don't have enough fermenters, because we are limited on our fermenter space. If we had 15 fermenters,
you could just let those beers ride forever.
And you know, Dan, for instance, lets his lager for 6 weeks. 6 weeks in a fermenter, like, wow. There, you know, when he does his Marzen, that's 6 months in a fermenter, just like taking up space in a fermenter for 6 months. And I was like,
yeah, that's a long time.
I only have 3 fermenters. I cannot.
Yeah,
like,
you
not
can't
use
tie one up for 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah,
no, not gonna happen. And that's why we lager in the kegs. You know, if we were to brew Oktoberfest in March like we're supposed to, it's gonna sit in those kegs from April until the end of August when we decide. So, you know, you got 4 months just sitting in the kegs, just chilling. Then, in my opinion, there's not any difference. There might be slight differences.
I don't think you only get that difference when you get to the bottom and that stuff is settled down at the bottom and you get those.
And that's only if you're like super rough with the keg. Like, just be gentle with it, because you know this has been sitting in here. You know, like, all of that stuff is. Like,
you don't want to go and shake it all up and get all that stuff back in suspension. And
unless it's hazy train.
Yeah, then you do want to shake it up.
I mean, there are some New England style IPAs that get stored upside down. So when it comes time to work them, they have to shake it as much as possible, and then they kind of get that consistent look in the glass, no matter how old it is. You know, hazy train right now.
I didn't even think about that.
Hazy train right now is probably a little bit clear just because of the age that it's got on it.
I know Vicenta's. I mean, that was the last batch of hazy that we had, but she's like, this one's hazy and dark, or not hazy, but this one's cloudy. I'm like, is that how it's supposed to be? I'm like, yes, that's the point of it. But for a while there, she was pouring clear hazies because because it didn't get shooken up.
Right. So because they just sat and they settled, and that happens. If you were to grab any random hazy IPA can off of the store shelf,
I'm
that's
sure
been there for a while, it's going to be clear. It's not going to be light beer clear, but it's going to be clearer.
Just from it sitting like that?
Just from it sitting there.
They just settle out.
And even that bitterness, settles out. The hop flavor settle out. IPAs, you have to drink them fresh. Which, going back to the half batch thing, like that's why I did the half batches, because they have to be fresh.
Does shaking them really help at all, or temporarily?
It helps with how it looks, and it's all temporary. It'll all settle out again.
How you like it? You said you haven't had one in a while.
It's your favorite beer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind it. I really don't. But I've been drinking this beer for
a long time.
a long time.
This is like the staple, right?
Mm-hmm.
You started with this, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if I could change this beer dramatically, I would make it a little less sweet than it is. But
don't change something that works.
Right. It's kind of out of my control anymore. Which is why, I do other beers that are like the same color and almost the same flavor profile, but they're not Beam.
Mm-hmm. Nothing will be Beam.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, like that sitting beside you. Nothing's going to be like that ever.
Exactly. I was getting sad the other day because I was looking at the menu and I had a white ale. I'm like, man, I haven't had mainline in a while. Like that. No, I still had a white ale.
Your long forgotten lover.
I know.
Just like left her in the dirt.
I have been.
I actually had one. I think I threw a can away right before you walked in.
That was empty. Yeah, finish this brown.
Finish the brown. And then we'll talk about flavors if we can taste them from your other beer.
My other beer.
Yep.
I couldn't even tell you if I know what it tastes like.
Right, which is why we're going to go through tasting it.
That's sad. Do you want more?
No.
All right.
No. There's more aroma. It is warmer. There's more aroma.
That's what you said. Around like 40 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to craft.
Yep. I used to set the cooler at 38, but then decided I wanted my main line a little bit colder, so I turned it down. Where are we set at now? Like 36, 35?
I think so. I think 36.
Something around there. Have you noticed the difference?
I haven't.
Me either.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I asked somebody.
Except for my electric bill.
Yeah, I'm sure you noticed the difference there. I think I asked somebody and they said they did, but I haven't. It doesn't taste like Beam anymore.
Yeah.
To me. It's not even close.
Not even close to Beam.
Yeah. It's not.
I mean, even this one glass having warmed up tastes different than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to taste it when it comes off the wall and it's not flat.
Yeah.
This is a very flat beer.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, kudos to you.
It is a packaging problem.
You got the job done. Yeah.
I know now to bleed off the tank if I'm going to try to pour a crowler off.
So you did learn at least something.
I did. Well, I knew that wasn't the way to do it. I just didn't think about bleeding off the tank. I thought that would get rid of the carbonation, but the carbonation's in there, so I don't know why I thought it would get rid of that.
So actually, if you bleed it off really, really fast, the carbonation will come out.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are carbonating a beer and you're like, oh my goodness, I over-carbonated this, and you're like freaking out.
Yeah, I've done that before.
You can't just take the valve and just open it up and
drain all the CO2
because what's in there will come out.
Mm-hmm.
If you take it and you crack it, and you have a very steady if you have the little nipple,
the CO2 connect,
right? If you have the quick connect, hooked up to it, and you just crack the valve, so now you've barely cracked the valve and you've restricted what can come out. You just and you take your finger and you're like just feeling a little bit of CO2 coming out. That's about what you want. You want that pressure to come down about as slow as you can. You want to take the head pressure off, but you don't want to do so in such a releasing manner that the CO2 in here is like, I have somewhere to go, right? You want the CO2 that's in the beer to not even know that there's room above until there's room above, and it's like
it just leaves.
Okay, well, let's get out. Because when you go and it all goes boom, then all the foam goes boom, and it's not in the glass; it's in the bright tank. Which we have enough problem with the foam in our beers.
See, that's what I thought. Like, if I were to release the pressure on it while it's in the bright tank. That's why I never do.
Yeah.
Like I keep pressure on it, and when I'm kegging, and then until it's empty, then I dump it all out.
Yep. So when I keg, I actually turn the CO2 completely off when there's about a barrel left, because you have so much CO2 in the bright tank already that you removing this isn't going to change this pressure much. Now, this pressure, when you only have this much CO2 and you remove a barrel of beer, well, you've now halved it. It's about ratios, right? So if you have this much CO2 sitting on top of your beer and you take out a barrel, you've halved or you've doubled the amount of room that the CO2 has, then you've halved your pressure. Now, if you only have a barrel left in the tank, you have, 4 feet, 5 feet of CO2, and you remove 6 inches off of that.
It doesn't do anything.
It's not going to change the pressure. So about a barrel is where I turn the CO2 off. I don't need to pump in anymore because we have enough to get through it. And when you're kegging and you're about to where that temperature probe is or just above it, that's where I turn the temperature up because
there's no point in pumping it cold.
If the beer's below that temperature probe, there's no point in even trying to keep it at the temperature.
And even at that point, you should go fast enough that it's not going to warm up that much.
Yeah, with those 2 fillers, holy cow.
Except you didn't tell me that you broke one of the fillers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to fix it. That sucks.
You didn't even tell me.
That sucks.
When I went to Keg Beam, I got them all out. I'm like, well, this one doesn't have the little pull thingy.
Yeah.
And
What'd
then
you do?
I just did one.
You just did one?
Yeah, I was like, well, I'll just go slow.
Man, it's horrible
Yeah.
just going slow.
Yeah, it is.
I've been meaning to fix that. I've actually been thinking about 3D printing a new part. Or
I forgot about that. You should. That'd be good.
That, and I just got the epoxy from trying to fix the furnace. I think I'm going to try and epoxy that handle back together. I actually tried swapping the coupler out with the coupler that's on the canning machine. But the coupler that's on the canning machine isn't set up as a kegging coupler. So it still has that backflow ball.
Yeah.
It still has the gas thing in it. And I had it all apart and I was about to put it back on and it went click, click. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't want to take this one apart because we actually need
it for the canning machine.
Yeah, we need the backflow thing on the canning machine.
Yeah, you didn't tell me that.
I'm sorry. My bad.
I saw the pieces up there. I'm like, oh, he broke it and didn't tell me.
Dude, it cracked in my hand. Dude, that was 3 batches ago.
Yeah, it was when you kegged hazy.
Yeah, it was when I was brewing.
Well, yeah, you're brewing and then kegging.
Brewing
hazy.
and kegging and
Hulk smash.
It might have actually been the batch before that, when I kegged the batch before that, and I'd completely forgotten about it. But at that point, I took the 2 pieces and I just smashed them together.
Oh yeah. See, I just didn't want to fight that.
Right, and I was like, "Where's the tape?" And I couldn't find any tape because I can never find any tape. And I was like, "If I just put it together, put some tape on it, and then I can get through the batch." And that's what I did. I broke it and I just got through the batch.
Yeah.
And then I think I did it. I think I've done it one more time since.
Just holding it together and doing that.
Yep.
No, I wasn't gonna do that.
Yeah.
I took my
good for you.
I took my sweet time. And
dude, it takes so long.
It does. It's a huge difference, especially on those big ones. Those big ones with 2 keg fillers.
Dude, you're done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't the CO2 tank can't keep up with how much it needs to put in, and it's completely frozen. If you're just kegging off of 1 coupler, the CO2 tank, the regulator, doesn't have any problems. But you hook up that second one, dude, it's frozen by the time you're done with the first one. It's nuts.
I was a little disappointed when I keg beam because I was ready to get both of them going. I had the Y and the sanitizer already, and then
so you've done 2 batches now.
Yeah, single filling.
Single coupler.
Yeah.
All right. My bad. I apologize. Do you think you could fix it?
I would just tape it.
Just tape it?
But I knew there was a reason that you didn't just tape it, so that's why I didn't tape it.
No. Send me a message. Like, what's going on with this?
Well, I already knew what was going on. It's broken.
Right. But, like, what's going on with this? Are we going to fix it, or what are we going to do with it?
Can I tape this?
Yeah.
I just did the one. It was one batch. Well, at first I thought it was just one batch, and then I was going to tell you about it, how you broke in, didn't tell me about it, but...
And then you didn't.
And then I had a cake
Then you did it again.
Yeah. But now I told you about it.
Well, now it's up to you to fix.
You can just... Because I put the thing around it, and I lifted it up. I'm like, yeah, you could just tape it around.
Tape it around?
Mm-hmm.
How about epoxy?
Yeah. That'd probably be more permanent.
A little more permanent.
And it'd be better, especially, like, cleaning-wise. It being clean. I thought about tape and, like, trying to wash it then afterwards would probably be a little...
Yeah, the tape's going to get mushy and gross.
And get bacteria growing in there.
So I actually tried to... I was going to just remove the screw. Did you look at the coupler at all with the broken thing?
Not
There's
really.
a screw and a washer that you should be able to, like, screw out. But when you start spinning the screw, something else is like spinning on the inside, and I couldn't get it out. That's what I was gonna do. When I realized I couldn't just swap the coupler, I actually popped the black part off, and I was just gonna unscrew this
and put another one.
It's the little, like, you pull it out, and you got the little nubby. You start spinning the screw, and the little nubby in there just starts spinning. I was just gonna unscrew it, pull it out,
put the other one on.
Put it on there, and like then just have to deal with the broken one on the canning machine, which is something we don't use all that often. Like, that's a way better thing to have broken. But then I couldn't get the screw out because it was just like spinning the little nubby, and I was like, I don't know where a pair of pliers is. I'm not gonna try and hold this to get the screw out and have to do it again. So
you could 3D print another one, a cool handle.
You think it'll hold up?
Yeah. I saw it was like what was it? I sent it brought home. It was like a dragon or something.
Little dragon that actually made.
Yeah.
Yeah, his arm got stuck and he.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like, I think you could. It'd be hard to get the measurements, I think. Is it hard to get the
calipers? And I don't know what the expansion rate on the plastic is and what it is when it cools down. That's it. I mean, but I don't think it would take long. I would have to design it in 3D software.
That, I think, would be the hardest part, is trying to...
And that's something I've never done. I've never actually designed a 3D model and then sliced it and sent it to a printer. Like, any of the 3D printing that we've done, it was me pulling a file off the internet. Hey, this is a dragon. And then me putting it in a slicer and letting the slicer thing, and then you send it to the printer and you just push go. At this point, I've shown Dexter how to do it. And he's just pulling random stuff off the internet and sending it to his 3D printer. Like, he has 2 blocks with a negative missile on it. He's like, Dad, we're going to, like, pack snowballs that are shaped like missiles. And he got a little scissor thing. And we're going to pack snow ducks. But, I mean, he's doing it all on his own. He's pulling
that's super cool. That's super cool. And that one's good enough. Like, you can design things, and that's what you should do instead of buying one. Just 3D print a handle.
I mean, we could try it, but I don't have much faith in how strong it'll be.
Yeah. I don't think it... Yeah, especially in those chemicals and stuff, like PBW. How good will it be in that?
Maybe if I could print with ABS instead of PLA, it might make a difference. But you never know. We need one glass in the glasses, and then we can just...
One glass in the glasses?
Yeah, because you have to be able to smell it. I'm going to...
Okie dokie. Hello, hello. It's just me now. Nick was probably not very excited that I brought these over. But it's been a little while. see what he has to say about this. Bush Light. Well. Look who's back. Do you know what we got here?
All right, buddy. What do we got here?
What do we have here? My mom said I'm sitting here scraping the stickers off of the dresser Owen took out of Ethan's room in the Alliance house. Well, that does not sound like very much fun. Are you going to repaint it after you scrape all the stickers off, or are you going to just leave it with scraped off stickers? You can't really smell much.
It has a very distinct smell.
I don't really. You smell something, but what is that?
I would say corn.
Corn?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how's it taste?
Very light. What do you taste?
Light. Light beer.
These are the hardest beers to
Yeah,
describe.
like I don't, and I also don't know how you'd make one of those.
But it has a flavor, does it not?
It does. It has a Busch Light flavor. Like
Right.
that's what I've known that flavor to be.
But
what is it?
Try and put a word on what it is that you're tasting.
I don't know.
You have to exhale. Remember all the things that we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Okay, so I want you to put some in your mouth. I want you to breathe in through it.
Yep.
Right, so you're gonna.
Like that is what beer tastes like. To
It
me.
almost tastes like
It's
a
like
green apple.
a green apple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that.
Think about like a green apple Jolly Rancher.
Mm-hmm. I love green apple.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why I like Busch Light.
Try it again. Take a bigger drink. Aerate it on your tongue. Do you know how to aerate it in your mouth? So you're gonna put some in your mouth, and then you're gonna breathe. It's gonna be in your mouth still, and you're gonna like kind of with it on your tongue.
Okay, so I'm bringing air in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is kind of green appley.
I kind of do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little sweet. It's a little green appley, and it's maybe it's apple on the nose instead of corn.
I don't know about.
Mm-hmm. But you take a big drink and you don't do that little trick,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get the apple there.
Mm-mm.
And
No,
it's
I
just-
didn't get it either.
And it's kind of like, it's just a very light, refreshing
Mm-hmm.
kind of beer.
There's not really a whole lot going on there. It's just a
But-
light beer.
If I were to put a Busch Light next to a Bud Light, could you tell me the difference?
Yes,
Could you pick out your beer?
I think I could.
You think you could?
I think I could.
I don't have
yeah.
have a Bud Light on me.
It'd have to be a test we can do another time. A blind test. I think I could.
I think I could pick out the differences between them as well. Me and Jay go back and forth about this. He's like, there is no difference between the two,
I think
or
they're
the three,
yeah.
or any of the light beers, and like you can't pick them out. And I was like, I think I
Yeah.
could.
I don't think I've seen videos of people like a whole list of things, and they're sitting there drinking them and trying to name them. I don't think I could do like eight different like light beers
because you're not familiar enough with 8 different light beers.
But like Busch Light compared to another beer, I think I could pick out Busch Light.
What's the other beer?
Any other light beer that you put on there.
Any other light beer.
Yeah, I think I could.
Busch Light versus Bud Light.
Yes, I think I could.
I think that's a very hard one. Busch Light versus Coors Light.
That would be very easy.
I think that's very
I don't
easy.
like Coors Light.
Right. So, like Busch and Coors, completely different breweries.
Mm-hmm.
Busch, Bud,
same brewery.
Same brewery. Yeah. I think that's a harder judge than Busch.
I think it'd still be possible.
What about Keystone?
That one, I think would be closer. I think I would have a harder time, but I still think I could. Just because I know Busch Light. I've had plenty Busch Lights.
This is my beer.
Yeah. I've had, it'd be like me asking you in PBR and anything. I'm sure you could pick out PBR.
It depends on the date. Depends on the day of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is fresh. Mm-hmm. This is very crisp.
It is.
And it has a lot to do with how fresh it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't even pay attention.
No.
You just buy it.
This looks good.
I want you to take one of these cans, and I want you to put it on your counter for 3 months.
And then try it?
Yeah, just put it above your fridge. Mm-hmm. And if you put it above your fridge, it won't even take 3 months. I want you to put it above your fridge for a month. And take one of the cans and leave it in your fridge for a month. So take 2 of these home, one on top of the fridge, one in the fridge. And then we'll come back in a month. And
it will be completely different.
Guarantee you. Like, different. Oh, my goodness.
I already know that'll be. But I've drank plenty of these warm and sitting in my car for weeks. And
it's a good beer. I'm not going to argue that at all.
Which is good. You want another one?
There's a reason. There's a reason why people drink so many of them.
Especially here in Nebraska.
I always thought this was a Bud Light town. But apparently, based on the dates, like this is a Busch Light town.
It is. That would have been bad. Old Faithful.
You're not going to like this with your Old Faithful.
I don't know. How do they
what?
Make Busch Light? Like, what's the main grain in this? What do you think it is?
6-row and corn. So Kolkar.
Mm-hmm. Without the roasted color.
Kolkar without the roast.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But why does it taste different?
The yeast.
What yeast do they use?
Their own
special.
Their own. It's
special
a boudoir
yeast
strain. Mm. It's their own special yeast that they grow in house. Mm-hmm. They have a cryogenic unit that when it's time to throw their yeast away, they will pull out of the freezer and start with literally a cell and grow that cell and then grow that colony and grow that colony. And they'll make a 5-barrel batch just to grow yeast, and then they'll make a 50-barrel batch just to grow yeast, so they can throw it in their 500-barrel batch.
Mm-hmm. So that's all they're doing is you think that's what makes it the beer?
The yeast, 100% is what makes it a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna try this mainline.
You're not gonna like it.
I'm sure I'll like it. Too much head.
It's dark.
It's darker than that.
Here, compare your two favorite beers. I mean, don't drink off of my glass because you never know. This is very light. And so, like, this might be And I don't know how much corn they're using. The more corn you use, the less color you're going to get.
Okay. But yeah, they are. It's more yellow. They come back a little bit. There we go.
Theirs is clearer for sure.
Yeah.
But
it is a different color.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a yellow.
Yeah, we definitely have. So
and this is oranger.
This might be like. No, I've always heard it's like 6-row. I don't know. That color is something else, though. And the carbonation is different.
Mm-hmm. It is. Like, see this? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not bubbling anymore. Yours is still going.
Yep.
How do you get that effect?
I don't know.
Lots of money and equipment.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea. If I
That's
knew,
crazy,
then,
though.
like,
That's crazy looking at
make
that.
lots and lots of money.
Just looking at that and seeing the bubbles rise.
Mm-hmm. Makes you want a Busch Light, doesn't it?
No, mainline's still good. I like mainline.
Huh.
What's the ABV? Like 4.2, I think.
Yeah, it's very low. I don't think that.
Yeah.
Do they actually print it? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either.
Oh, 4.1.
Yeah.
What's mainline right now?
4.5-ish, 4.8-ish.
Not quite 5.
Yeah, but still, it's more than a Busch Light.
Mm-hmm. And that might have something to do with the color too.
Mm. Less grain.
Yep, less grain, more water.
Mm-hmm. It's still bubbling like that.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to get some other craft beers of this style and see if they do this because ours don't.
No,
but it's so pretty to watch.
It is. It's cool to watch.
Maybe we don't carbonate enough. I've always thought like we're borderline over carbonate.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we'd have a lot more problems down the line if we carbonated more, like kegging, canning.
Yep.
Like it'd just be a lot more difficult.
Wow, I've never like drank them side by side like this, and this is like it's making me sad. Like I don't.
Your
know.
mainline doesn't taste like Busch Light.
I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, it doesn't taste like green apples, which it shouldn't taste like green apples.
Yeah.
Green apples are like a bad flavor to have in beer.
I like green apple flavor though. I like green apple Gatorade.
Stuff to think about.
It's just the difference between craft beer on a smaller scale between millions and millions and millions of dollars.
I mean, there is that, but why can't I? Why can't you? Why can't we?
Yeah. Make
turn
something
out a product like this.
I think we could.
As
I think
clean
it would take a lot of
refreshing
time.
and crisp.
A lot of time and a lot of money.
I'm gonna have to go get a Hellcat Hellas. I'm gonna have to put Dan on the spot. He's not even here to defend himself.
He isn't. He isn't. Yeah.
No,
but compare them. That between a Busch Light.
Absolutely.
You already know a mainline between that.
I'm gonna take a Busch Light and a Coors Light because that's Dan's beer.
Mm. Dan likes Coors Light.
Yeah.
I'm judging. I wish he was here.
And I'll take a mainline and I'll take a Hellcat. And we'll just kind of pour them all in glasses and just
see if we can pick out them.
Yeah.
I think we could. I think I could.
You think you could?
I think I could.
Coors, yeah. I think I could pick out the Coors for sure.
I don't like Coors.
Mainline, Hellcat. Are there any other like light craft beers that you know of?
No, I don't think so.
You haven't had enough of them?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That'd be fun though, I think.
Yes.
Just having it and picking out.
And I think Jay does a good enough job with his homebrew that should be
we could have his
because
Pilsner.
I remember like one of his little light lagers. Like it didn't have the bubble effect like this, but it had this color. And it wasn't quite this clear, but They sterile filter their beers.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But he had this color for sure, and I don't know how he did it. No, there are better brewers than I. You could learn more from other people.
I don't know. I feel like that's money, though. I feel like money. A lot of that's money based. Mm-hmm. Your equipment that you can obtain with the amount of money that they have.
Yeah, it's filtered. We don't filter anything. Mm-hmm. And it's blended as well.
Blended.
So we talked about the lagering room and just tanks upon tanks upon tanks upon tanks. They don't all taste exactly the same. But when you have enough beer, you can take this from this tank and this from this tank and this from this tank and this tank.
And you're just pulling from all of them.
And you can make it the same. Mm-hmm. This one's just a little too sweet. This one's too dry. Let's put them together.
You get the same beer.
To get the same beer.
Mm-hmm. That actually makes sense.
There's also a thing they do. It's called high gravity brewing. Do you know what high gravity brewing is?
I don't.
So when we brew and we're targeting 12.4 Plato, say for instance they want to target 12.4 Plato in the fermenter, they're going to brew a beer that's 16 Plato.
Okay.
And
why?
How do you get it from 16 Plato down to exactly 12.2 Plato?
I would just let it sit, but...
Let it sit?
Then you're getting a higher ABV than you want. Yeah.
So they want it to be exactly 12.2 Plato so that their yeast
is going to
do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, water.
They add water.
Okay.
So they brew a 16 Plato beer, and then they water it down to exactly where it needs to be.
That makes sense.
12.2
And they use the same yeast, and it will come out with the same product then.
Every single time. It's all about repeatability.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
which, yeah, if you pulled out a can of Busch Light, it tastes different than the other can. You want to... It's not Busch Light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes sense.
We're like... Mainline needs to be 10.2 Plato.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, things didn't go right. This is 9.6. What do? Nothing.
Yeah, no.
This is what we have.
This is mainline.
It's supposed to be 10.2. Well, now it's 11. What do? Nothing.
It's mainline.
This is just what it is.
Yeah.
Right? 11, so when it's too high, we could add water and water it down. But we have to know exactly how much is in that fermenter to know exactly how much water we have to add to it to get it down to our...
Which that's equipment and money.
Mm-hmm. And then, did we hop it correctly? Mm-hmm. You know, are we going to water down the IBUs as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Repeatability. That's what big beer is about.
Mm-hmm. Which is completely different from craft beer.
Yeah.
It's a completely different level.
I don't know. My opinion, craft beer is like you and me in the back just having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, we're making beer. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we're just like working hard and graining it out and doing what we're doing, and we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of those people there, they have no control. They do the same thing. They go into work, and it's the same as everyone else going into work. It's just a job.
It's the job.
They don't get to have fun with it. They don't get to experiment with it.
Imagine being the guy that has to wash the kegs at Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's not fun.
Dude's on an assembly line.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
not doing anything. Like
every person there is on an assembly line. They have their job. They go in. They do it. They go home. They have
zero creative.
Yeah,
zero creativity.
It's completely different from craft beer.
Mm-hmm. But it's tasty.
Being able to replicate something like that, though, would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, look at it.
It's still bubbling.
It's pretty, man.
It's still bubbling.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, you got a little bit of foam around the top here.
Yeah.
Go like this.
Yeah, I mean,
like look at mine. Mine just became a tornado of foam.
It's cool. Our cameras, we can see the two different ones.
Yes. Yours is golden. Mine's yellow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yours is still bubbling. I don't understand that. That's the part I don't understand. From their lagering tanks, do they put them in like a bright tank? Or do
I'm pretty
they
sure out of the lagering tanks it probably goes
package?
through a filter. So
Okay.
off of the lagering tanks, it probably gets filtered and then straight to the packaging line. Yeah, they have to carbonate somehow. Where do they carbonate? Because if
Can you carbonate in a lagering tank?
Yes. So it has to be filtered before it goes in there. Because if you run carbonated beer through a filter, it's going to scrub the CO2 out.
Mm-hmm.
Are they carbonating in line as they're packaging?
Could be.
They might be.
But how? How do you get enough carbonation in your beer inline?
At what point do they filter and how do they filter? And then where do they carbonate? Because you take the tour and they're like, no, we carbonate in these lagering tanks.
But are they filtering before the lagering tanks?
I don't know. Maybe. If you filter before the lagering tanks,
It defeats
then
the
there's
purpose.
no yeast
Yeah.
to naturally carbonate the beer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're liars on their tours. That's what
Probably.
that's what I'm putting together right now. Is they're not.
They
telling
probably
you the whole
are,
truth, man.
They probably are.
They're carbonating in
It's
line.
a secret.
They're going to carbonate in line after filter to the packaging line. And, man, it's got to be like, I don't know if pop is this carbonated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's, like I said, it's still bubbling.
But they're very fine bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's why you don't drink mass beer out of a glass.
You start dissecting it too much, especially when you know about beer. Trying to figure out how they do their beer.
I'm going to have to take the tour again. We're going to do it in June.
That sounds like a good plan.
Right? Let's do it in June. If Vicente can go. And she can.
Can we hound them and actually ask them real brewery questions that they don't get asked? They probably won't answer them.
No, you can ask them whatever question you want to. Whether or not they answer it,
I was going to say, I don't
and
think
whether or not the tour
they
guide,
know.
the tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because that's just another job for them.
Right. So that's the difference. You give a tour. You're the guy that is actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. The tour guy is
The
not.
tour guide is giving a tour. The tour guide is a tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's taught how to make a tour.
they have a script.
Yeah.
And they're going off of the script.
Mm-hmm.
Do they know a little bit more? Can they answer some of those deeper questions? I'm sure just because of how many tours they've given.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully if you're good at your job, you're like, I'm going to find out this answer.
Yeah.
So next time I'm presented with it, I'm going to have an answer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or they're actors and they're very good at getting through it in a way that somebody who doesn't actually know, right? Because if you ask a question, you don't know the answer.
You can just give me whatever you want to give me, and then I'd be like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense. I
Right.
think that'd be fun.
So me being, 21, 22, 23, whatever I was when I took the Anheuser tour, and I'm in the lagering room, and they're like, we put it on the beechwood, and the beechwood carbonates the beer. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's neat, right? But now I'm like, I don't know if that's how it works because I know more about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I going to ask about it? Am I going to inquire about it? At this point, no.
Because you already know that's... Is that really how it works?
So the question I'm going to ask, what point in the process do you filter the beer?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then be like, oh, after it comes out of the lagering tanks. And then I'd be like, wait a minute. If you filter something after it's carbonated.
And you run it, then you scrub
how's it getting the bubbles? Oh, the bubbles pass through the filter.
Yeah, then you know.
Right.
Then you know that it's just bullshit.
Then it's just a job.
Yeah. That'd be fun, though. I'd be interested in that. To see someone else's answer to that. Because, talking through it, you're like, that doesn't make sense. But as someone being a tour guide, they don't know that doesn't make sense.
No, they do. They have
I
to
don't
know.
think they do.
They have to know.
They don't know that much about it.
Being a tour guide, if I was going to be a tour guide somewhere, I would want to know everything there is to know.
Yeah.
Do I need to know how to do it? No, but I need to know like what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens. This is this and this and this.
I'm sure they have a cop out, like I'll have to ask and get back to you.
Well, do it. Pull out your cell phone. When are
Like
you gonna,
I'm sure they have like
I'm leaving town in 10 minutes. When are you gonna get back to me?
I'm sure they have a cop out for like those questions that are like, that's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, the smaller tours are funner.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I liked going to the Peg Leg. That was cool.
Yeah.
To see their stuff.
I mean, and that
yeah.
was, that wasn't even a tour.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was just kind of looking around.
just
like, hey, we're here.
Well, do you want to come look?
Yeah.
I sure do.
Yeah, like that was cool to see like their stuff.
You didn't even know what you were looking at.
No, I didn't.
Like, shoot, we were like you were less than 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you'd ran the canner. You'd been there for Brew Day.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I knew what I was looking at compared to what we had.
Right. If you were to go back to Peg Leg now, like even just like thinking about being in the room, do you know more about the room and what you were looking at now versus when you were there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I still would have questions, like, because their tanks are much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they pitch more yeast?
Yeah.
Like, a lot more?
Oh, absolutely they do.
Is it more bags, or do they pitch out of brinks?
Because we overpitch.
Yes, I know that.
We overpitch. So I think Dan is actually just doing 1 bag. Dan might be 2 bags. So Dan is 3 barrels, Dan is 15 barrels. We're 5 barrels. So Dan's 3 times the size. I don't think Dan's putting in 3 bags. Maybe if he's like really stressed, he might put in 2 bags. But what am I gonna do with a half a bag of yeast?
Yeah, and that's not good.
It's gonna get infected.
Yeah,
right. So we used a whole bag for what we're doing.
So like that's kind of my questions now, is like more in depth of certain processes. Of narrowing it down.
Those are the good questions. And I'm glad you now know to ask what questions you want to ask.
Things that are more interesting to me. Since I know more about it.
That means you're learning. And that also means you're interested in what it is that you're doing. Because if you didn't care about it, like, well, how many bags of yeast does he pitch? That wouldn't even cross your mind.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm learning.
Good job.
I also I don't know what it is with me, but I like seeing how other people do things. Like, it's the same process for everyone.
That's how you learn.
And seeing how other people are doing it.
Right. Just because this is how I do it, I 100% promise you is not the best way to do it. This is just how I know how to do it.
And it works.
I can teach you how I do it. I can teach you things maybe I should be doing, but I can't teach you what other people are doing because I don't know what they're doing.
And that's what those tours would... not necessarily the commercial big tours, because they're not gonna tell you how they are pitching their yeast.
So, being in the industry and getting to know the people that are doing the stuff, having on your phone the, name and number of the brewer there and the brewer there and the brewer there and the brewer there. Literally on Brew Day, I'll like send a random person a question. And I was like, "What do you think about this?" And I'm like, man, I hope they got their phone because I really want to know their opinion about this right now. In fact, one of the first times we ran the canning machine, I sent Ryan at Papa Moon a question. I was like, dude, where do you set the pressure on the tank?
That's a really good question.
What is it that you do, right? It may not be a direct translation to what it is that I'm doing. And come to find out, like, what he does is
completely different.
Completely not going to work for what it is that we're doing because we have completely different equipment. But it gave me a place to start when I had no idea what we were doing.
Even from what Peg Leg's doing, running their hookup straight to their thing.
Yep.
Completely changed what...
Fixed our problems.
Completely changed it.
Yep.
And just that one little thing.
One little thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You got to get to know the people. You got to get their numbers. You got to ask them questions. And that's the greatest thing in my opinion, about this industry.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, this industry, like even
dude, all we want to do is help each other out.
At that festival. That's what I realized. Like, no one's out to get anyone else. No one really cares. It's just a good time drinking beer.
They're gonna undercut us. I can't believe this.
Like no one's worried about that. No one cares about that. It's
dude,
just
we're making beer.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is.
And that's all we want to do.
You're not worried. Oh, this person is gonna take over or do this and this. No,
they stole my recipe. Can you believe that? They're making our beer now.
Like do the
Calling
same.
it something else.
Do the same recipe. Call your own. Yeah.
These guys are making a Scottish style ale. Can you believe that?
Yeah. And that's what's cool is like it's not that.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's just
it doesn't matter.
having a good time.
Dude, that's all we want to do. That's why we make beer.
Yeah.
We want to have a good time.
Have a good time and drink beer.
And I think we're pretty good at having a good time.
I have a good time.
I have a great time. I have a great time. What do you got in your glass now?
Mainline. I still got mainline in there.
I got mainline in a can.
Oh. You moved on. You're classy.
Classy out of the can. Everybody likes it in a can.
The can tastes good. Doesn't taste bad out of a glass. What are you talking about?
Maybe it'll bubble more in my glass.
Because you have Busch Light in there?
No, because I have the special bubble glass.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It is bubbling. It is bubbling. I do see it.
Glass.
I do think it is the glass because look, it's still bubbling. Why? I don't understand.
This glass is dirty. There's something for the bubbles to come out of solution on. And that glass.
This glass is clean?
Super clean.
Because I'm getting no bubbles. I had no bubbles.
Look at it, Alex.
I know. It is bubbling just like that Busch Light.
Yeah. It's not as clear as a Busch Light.
No.
Why isn't this as... Oh, is it because I've been drinking off of it? Man. I always thought this beer was like crystal clear, but Busch Light has humbled me.
It is clear, though.
But look at those bubbles.
It is bubbling. Just like that Busch Light.
Did I pour it out of the right glass? Did I transfer the sticker? Oh, yeah. Now I feel better.
Because you're still bubbling like that?
I feel way better. Apparently, we're doing something right. Alex, I think you made a good beer. And my glass is dirty.
The glass is dirty. That's why it's bubbling.
Yeah.
Not
I bet
because
you your
of me.
Busch Light in that is not going to bubble. Rinse it out.
I'll rinse it out and put the Busch Light in there.
And then put the Busch Light in there.
Not quite as clear, though.
I don't know. Yeah, for whatever reason, like this. I don't know. I've always been happy about how clear it is.
It is.
But I am.
I think the color's different.
I am not happy about how clear this is.
No?
No.
It's still clear. It's just not see-through.
I want to read a newspaper through my beers. I'm happy with the bubbles. It's this glass.
I think it is the glass.
It is a glass.
It
Look, your Busch Light
100%.
isn't bubbling for nothing.
100% is the glass.
You have a super clean glass.
I do.
And I have a dirty, gross, nasty glass. But
It just continues to bubble.
Isn't that strange?
That is.
There's something on the bottom of the glass that is allowing the CO2 to come out of solution.
What is that? What would it be?
A piece of food, probably pasta because we eat lots of pasta. Or it could be something as simple as like a nick in the glass.
In the glass.
Right? A sharp edge, a scratch. And now the CO2 is like...
When it hits that, it pops out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have a little bit. There's one little spot.
Not like the one I had.
No, it's not.
Right, and it's on the side of the glass.
It is. It's right here. I see it.
No, there's another one on my side too. I can see it.
Is there?
Yeah. Right, so there's probably a nick in the glass, or there's a piece of pasta, because I'm nasty.
I eat a lot of pasta too.
That's mainline, and it's bubbling like crazy. Oh, it makes me so happy.
So we are carbonating, right?
Dude, we're not retards. We know what we're doing.
That looks the same. Like
It does.
I could say that looks like Busch Light. And it is see-through. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's
About the clearness.
We need to.
I say they are very similar.
We need to make a beer with Pilsner.
Just straight Pilsner?
Yeah, straight Pilsner. Maybe we can throw in a bag of corn. How about Pilsner and corn and Saw's hops? That's 23.
What are you going to call it?
I don't know.
That's the hardest part.
I don't know.
It might take over mainline, though. I'd hate for that to happen.
I wouldn't. If we can make mainline better, we can just call it mainline.
Yeah.
Like we can change the recipe
Of mainline and make a better mainline.
I mean, we literally change the recipe of Hazy Train every single time we make it.
And you still call it Hazy Train.
Right. So, what's a better mainline, this or that?
Mm-hmm.
If you could make that and you could call that mainline, would you be happier?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would.
Let's change it and let's taste it and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if it comes down to it, like the first time we do it, we'll put it on the menu. We'll have a different name. We'll be like experimental batch, you know.
Yeah.
Alex is a jerk for making me do this.
Mainline sucks.
Right. MLS.
Yes.
Experimental MLS. And then when it's better,
Yeah.
like, now
Hey,
it's
this mainline.
This is mainline.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
And people would be like, man, this tastes different. And I'd be like, no, it doesn't.
No. it's the same beer.
No, it doesn't. It's you.
Yeah.
But it's good, isn't it? It's tasty.
Just put little nicks in everyone's glasses so it bubbles the whole time. I was thinking of that blueberry beer we had from the Sturgis Brewing the other day too.
Yeah.
And how easy that would be. I think it would be easy. And just 2-row and some puree.
Yeah. Is it going to taste the same?
No.
No. Can we get something like close?
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
It'd be a super easy one to do.
You were watching that video again, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. It's an easy beer.
Yeah.
It's a cheap beer.
There's just nothing there.
There is nothing.
It's not cheap.
Well,
That fruit costs
okay,
money.
that's the expensive part.
Fruit
but
is
the grain,
expensive.
your grain bill on that
Yep.
is
I
cheap.
don't think the grain bill is anything extensive. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's hopped for anything, and I don't think the yeast is anything exciting. Like,
Do you think they only put 1 bag or 2 bags in there of puree? Can you get over fruited? Is that a thing? To over fruit your beer?
So
Because I know strawberry, we only put 1 bag in.
honestly, if I were to take a guess about how many bags there were in that beer based off of our size, I would say there's probably 4.
4 bags.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
Mhm.
Just because of how fruity it was compared to
Right.
beer taste. It was just fruit.
We were just drinking juice.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was. Maybe they might have even, like, I don't know. It says it was a 5.4 beer. I don't believe it.
It didn't taste like a 5.4
No,
beer.
it tasted like juice.
Yeah.
And that's all it tasted like.
But yeah, that fruit does. Maybe you should just have a farm, a fruit farm. Can you do that? And then crush up your own fruit and throw it in?
That's what, in fact, there's a whole license around that in this state, like farm wineries. Like you grow your own stuff and now you ferment it and you can sell it to whoever you want to. That's what Papa Moon is. Papa Moon is actually a farm winery.
They grow their fruit and they wine it.
Yeah. But now he like brings in apple juice. They still do the wine thing just because the grapevines are established and what are they going to do with them?
Yeah.
So there's still a farm winery.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Mainline's heavy. It needs to be lighter.
It is.
It needs to be lighter.
Just water it down a little bit.
I'm not sure. But it's still bubbling.
It is. We cracked the case, though. That's your glass.
Mm-hmm. It is my glass. But it makes me feel better about it. It needs to be lighter, though. We need to ferment it down farther.
Just let it sit longer?
No, that's not going to do anything. It needs to be thinner.
How do you
so
achieve that?
either water it down or mash lower, which we already mash really low.
Temp-wise?
Yep. Or put in more fermentable sugars, which is what the lower mash temp is supposed to do. It's supposed to make the sugars more fermentable.
If you put more fermentable sugars, you'll get a different taste, though.
You will.
Right?
And you may end up with like a green apple taste.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think that like they just add sugar.
They just have their main line and then they add a bunch of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
But won't you get a higher ABV with that?
You will. But what happens
if you add a bunch more water and then separate it between tanks and
right.
like for our size anyways, but you just spread that out over a bunch of different things, you'll get the and you'll get a super clear beer because it'll be
and you'll get one that's way lighter in color.
50% water basically and
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Fermenting sucrose gives you a green apple flavor. Busch Light is not just corn. Busch Light is freaking table sugar.
Corn and just sugar.
Busch Light
and then spread it out.
Busch Light is high fructose corn syrup.
And water. Because if they just had sugar.
Guys, seriously?
They don't tell you what's all in there.
Indicates at least 95% of the agricultural ingredients are farmed in the U.S. Anheuser-Busch Brown. These guys, this is like
they just put sugar in a can and watered it down.
Man, they're lucky they don't have to list ingredients.
Why don't they? Why does beer have to list ingredients?
It has to be labeled as beer, ale, lager, porter. It's not actually beer. The alcohol industry isn't controlled by the FDA.
Mm-hmm.
It's controlled by the TTB, which used to be the FTC. No, the ATF. Yeah, that's what it was. It used to be the ATF, but now it's the TTB. It's just a different department. It's just a different government.
Mm-hmm.
Where the TTB is concerned about tax money, where the FDC or the
FDA.
There you go, the FDA. Not, I don't even think it's the FDA, Federal Department of the FDA. Is
They're
more,
ingredient based.
More concerned about like what it is you're actually consuming, which is why you have the listing of ingredients. Man, they even have a U.S. farmed thing. Look at that.
You're judging this.
American Farmland Thirst, U.S. farmed certified, which is why indicates at least 95% of agricultural ingredients are farmed in the United States.
Yeah, it's the United States.
It's not 100%.
What are they getting overseas?
Rice?
Yeah.
I don't know.
To water it down.
High fructose corn syrup?
They have more than 5% corn syrup in there, and I'm assuming.
I don't know. Man, I'm being really judgy on the Busch Light. Right
You are.
You better give me one so that I can drink it.
I will
and
100%
be happy with
one.
it.
I will 100% give you
If this is
one.
the last beer I'm drinking, then we're getting off. These guys, oh man!
But now, the more you talk about, the more that I think you're right.
Right.
Dude, I think they use a lot of sugar and they water it down and spread it out through tanks.
Mm-hmm. It's so dry. It's very thin.
Mm-hmm.
Green apple is an indicator of sugar fermentation, sucrose fermentation. Man. Maybe I'm not really tasting green apple. Maybe it's just because I was sick as hell Sunday.
But
and
you
Monday.
said like the whole breathe out thing, like drink it, kind of aerate it, and breathe out. I get that green apple. I do. I like green apple though. Makes sense why I would like Busch Light.
It's acetaldehyde. That's the flavor component. Acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde. However you want to pronounce it. I'm not going to look it up right now, but like that's something for you to look up. Acetaldehyde. That's probably the best way for you to like just ask Siri. Acetaldehyde.
And that's the chemical component of it.
Tastes like green apple.
And that's just sugar fermented.
Maybe I'm completely wrong about where it comes from, but as much as I know about what I know, I'm pretty sure it's about like bad sugar fermentations.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cheap. That was like $12 for a 12-pack.
None of the other brewers I know like are on, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
Dan, how do you get acetaldehyde?
Come on, Dan. You missed the day.
I took an off flavor class from Dan actually once, and I think they had one today, or have one coming up, an off flavor class. It's something I should take.
What's an off flavor class?
So Dan, when we did it, we actually drank Coors Light. So Dan like gets a bunch of light colored beers, and then gets jars of chemicals and douses the beers with the chemicals. Like, this is going to taste like cardboard. This is going to taste like green apple.
Okay.
This is going to taste like butter. And he does it to a point where there's no way you can't taste these flavors. Because if you go above and beyond and you taste the flavor and you're like, that's terrible. What is this? Well, this is acetaldehyde. This is diacetyl. This is
you're bringing out
oxidation.
those chemical reactions.
You're bringing those reactions to your taste buds, to the front and foremost, so that when you taste them and they're a little more subtle in something that it is you're trying to do, or in a 12-pack of beer that you bought off the store shelf, and you taste this,
you'll know what
what it is that you're tasting. It's a very good thing to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went over to Flower. I paid $40 or whatever it was to take this like class course.
Tasting test.
Right. And I just showed up in the back, and Dan's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here to learn." He's like, "No, you're going to teach." I'm like, "No, Dan.
No.
I paid my money. I'm sitting down, and I'm going to drink this Coors Light, and we're going to learn something."
That's cool, though.
But it kind of put Dan on the spot, right? Because it's like,
because you also know what he's talking about.
Right.
So like,
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And
so he's not just
talking to customers.
Yeah, he can't just bull crap in.
Oh, this is this. Yeah.
That's cool.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
That's cool.
Something, they either just did it or they're about to do it. And if they haven't done it yet, then I'm gonna take you down there.
Let's go.
And then you're gonna get to see all the back, and you're gonna ask all the questions. And you're like,
I'll be like, Dan, can you make a Busch Light?
have you actually met Dan yet?
I haven't. I've seen pictures of Dan. I've seen the mustache.
You've seen the mustache. We're gonna put him on spot.
Exactly.
All right. I'm gonna drink the beer. We're gonna get off, and then I'm gonna do some research. I bet Dan still has some chemicals. Even if they've done it, like, I'm gonna get a hold of them, and I'm gonna make you do it.
Then we could just go down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you
like,
down there.
Dan, teach me.
We're gonna have a private off tasting flavor. You and Brett, and that's actually something I was thinking about. Something I was thinking about, because Dan was talking about doing this collaboration beer, this big brown ale kind of thing. You and I talked about it a little bit. I was going to talk to Dan, and I was like, well, let's come up with this recipe. Let's do this thing, but let's make the other guys do it.
You come up with a recipe, but make someone else do it?
I'm going to make you, and I'm going to make Brett make the beer. Dan and I can, like, sit in the back, Here's the beer you guys are gonna make, and then you guys are gonna make the beer.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. That's what I want to do. I want to make
Because you're not
new
making the beer.
guys make the beers.
Yeah.
The new guys can get to know each other, and new guys can become buddies, and the new guys can like be super proud of the beer when it comes out. I know what it's gonna taste like.
Yeah.
I'm the one that
Came up with the recipe.
taught
and,
you how to make beer. Dan's the one that taught Brett how to make beer. I know what you're gonna do. He knows what he's gonna do. What are you guys gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
That's I think.
How old is Brett?
I don't think. I don't
Look,
think. I don't think he's
Dan's
that
on
far
right
off.
now. Dan's back.
Dan,
He
we-
did it today.
They did it today. See?
I know,
I knew
yeah.
it was today or next week.
He has another set of chemicals, though.
Right. So Dan just heard all this stuff about Brett.
He did.
Right. That's what I want to do. I want the new guys to make the beer. This like imperial crazy, like they don't know what they're doing. Let's make them make this crazy beer that's going to turn out awesome. Because I think I've done a good job in training Alex, and Dan, I know you've done a wonderful job in training Brett, and I think that they
Could make a good beer.
can make a great beer.
Why not?
It's experience for them, and they'll love it. And we'll sit in the back, and we'll be like, you forgot to close that valve.
That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea.
I ask my questions before I do anything, though.
That's fine.
I do.
You can annoy me with questions all day long.
That's usually what I do. I say,
I will
hey,
answer every single question, and that's something I've told you since the very
Yeah,
beginning.
you
I
have,
will answer
yeah.
every single question that you present with me.
that's I usually like, I'm like, hey, I need to do this. And I'm like, hey, Nick, I need to do this, right? Just to make sure that I know what I'm talking about.
And do I ever actually directly answer your question?
Never do you directly answer my
I
question.
never just say yes.
You're like, what do you think? Or
What is it you're about to do?
it's always, all right, so we're trying to get the water from here to here. How are we going to do that? And then I answer it for you, but
So you answer your own question.
I do, but I don't
And
know.
You're always right about it.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
If you're not, then I direct you to the answer. I don't give you an answer. Do I ever
No.
give you the answer?
No.
I direct you towards the answer. But it's you that are
Thinking about,
through
yeah.
it to get to the answer. And when you get there, I'm like, that's it.
that is exactly what you do. Like, yep,
Good
you're
job.
right. There
Good
you
job.
go.
You got it.
Dan said I haven't trained Brett in brewing. I'm sure Brett knows a lot more in brewing than you think he knows.
He's been watching you.
I was gonna say,
He's been watching.
If he knows how to clean, he basically knows how to brew.
They'll get it figured out. They can do it.
How old is Brett? Is Brett younger? Is Brett older?
That's something that Alex asked. How old is he? I think you guys are about the same age. Brett might be older than you.
Most people are older than me.
Brett might be 26, 27.
Most people are older than me.
Yeah, because you're a little baby.
I turned 23 in, what day is it, Saturday? Like 4 days.
You turned 23
Wednesday.
in 4 days.
Yeah, Wednesday.
You're going to turn
I'm old.
23.
I'm old. I feel it.
You know, Dan and I are the same age.
Really?
Dan and I are both old enough to be your dad.
He definitely watched. Brett knows how to brew then. If Brett has watched you, Brett's 35.
Yep.
Me and Brett would be friends.
Right. Brett's watched a lot of batches.
Yeah.
Brett has paid attention. Just from the conversation that I had with Brett when he was down with Rich, Brett knows what he's doing. He's watched enough. He knows what he's doing. He may not know exactly the whys because Dan just said, I haven't trained him in brewing. But
So he doesn't know why he's doing this, but he knows this needs done.
right, but do you know all the whys either?
No.
Right. But
I like knowing the whys.
But you know the steps, right? Mill the grain. Put the grain in the hot water. Let it mash.
Yeah.
Pull it out. Boil it. Add the hops. Cool it down. Put it in the fermenter.
Add yeast.
Add the yeast.
Yeah.
Ferment it. Transfer it. Keg it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It seems like a simple process, but it's not.
Dude, that's simple.
You make it seem like an easy process.
That was 8 steps.
And then you go to the brew house and there's lever, and then but before the grant, there's two levers, and then on the
you haven't seen the like nice fancy system over there.
Yeah,
you know what there is? There's Dan's phone, and he's like,
can he control levers with his phone?
No, Dan's like, we're milling, we're going in right now. Oh, we're stirring the mash
on his phone.
We're transferring to the boil kettle, but then he's like, oh, I need to turn down the fermentation temperature on this tank. Yeah.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, Dan's just like a brewer at Anheuser-Busch. You know, his freaking computer.
Come on, Dan.
I'm just joking, buddy.
He said everything he knows he learned from watching this podcast. Put him on a brew day.
Right, bring him in.
Yeah.
Make him do it.
Why not?
He knows. Ask him questions.
I'm sure he knows.
I mean,
he's got it now.
Ultimately, that's going to be his job. You're going to get sick, and Hellas is going to need to get made, and who's going to do it?
Brett will do it.
Yeah, I tried to get Alex to make Beam on Tuesday, but he's like, oh, I don't have enough confidence. And I'm like...
Because if something bad goes...
I know you do.
But if something bad happens, I don't want to just be like, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to be in that position. He's a screen brewer.
Yeah. I don't know.
Has Dan ever brewed
like,
on a...
Set a timer for 42 minutes. Named. I'm a screen brewer. I don't know.
Has he ever been here?
Has Dan ever been here? Yeah, Dan's been down a couple of times. Once? Twice. Maybe twice. Not very often.
Really?
I don't know. The sales guy's been down way more. At least once. And in fact, I think it was for Rich's birthday. That might be the only time Dan's been here. Was
really?
For Rich's birthday.
For Rich's birthday.
Right. Dude, I go down there all the time just because I like sitting there. And Dan's like, I ain't got time for you.
Dan's a busy guy.
You're fucking sucks.
But Dan has Brett now, so now Dan's...
He's a smart guy. He'll figure it out.
Exactly. Well, someday next week, probably.
On your birthday.
I'm a busy guy on Wednesday.
Huh?
I'm a busy guy on Wednesday.
No. You have time for your parents on your birthday. Let me tell you something.
Okay.
As a parent, I can 100% assure you that your birthday is not for you. Your birthday
is for them.
Is for your parents.
It's just another day for me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Your birthday is just another day for you. But I 100% promise you that your birthday means the world to your parents. And you should see your parents on your birthday.
I'm just busy. I'm a busy guy.
No. You have time for your parents on your birthday.
We'll see.
You wouldn't be here.
I know.
If it wasn't for your parents.
I know.
On your birthday.
I know.
And
maybe Wednesday I'll be down there. Or Thursday or...
You don't have to do much. Dude, just like go see him for half an hour.
Go eat.
On my birthday, I went down and I drank beer with my dad.
That's what, I heard that.
On my birthday.
Yeah.
Because it's not for me.
I heard about that.
My birthday isn't for me. It's for them.
It's just another day for you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I turned 46. But
nothing
for them,
special, yeah.
But for them, like, and it's because you haven't had children yet that you don't understand this. But for them, like, it was 9 months leading up to this. It was this most incredible day. Me, like, a little bit more than, like, my brother, because I was the first
You're the first one, yeah.
It was this most incredible day. Like, their lives changed 100% on that day.
Yeah.
On my birthday. Birthdays are for your parents. They're not for you.
No, I understand that more. The older I get, I understand that more.
Yeah. Go see your parents on your birthday. You are not. I will. You are not that busy. I
feel busy.
You having plans to go out and enjoy yourself on your birthday is not.
Well, I didn't even have those plans.
It is not more important than you seeing your parents on
Yeah.
your birthday.
Yeah. I didn't even have those plans.
No.
Maybe I will. Maybe Wednesday we'll go to the Legion and eat some good hamburgers,
Yeah.
cheeseburgers. Dan said he's been there 3 times. Has he been there since he got the canning machine?
3 times.
Has he been there since he got the canning machine?
That I don't know.
Dan, have you
I don't
seen
know.
the?
I pay
have you-
somebody to be there for me anymore. I don't know if you've been there like when I wasn't there.
Dan, have you seen the canning machine? Every time that thing gets going, I enjoy it. It's cool to see it do its thing.
When it's running.
Yeah, when it's running good.
I want to go help Dan can. I think you and I actually should go help Dan can
Yeah.
one of these days.
Does he have the same canner? How many head canner does he have
He has a 4-head canner.
for head?
But Dan doesn't work the weekends.
Mm.
And you have the weekends off.
I do have the weekends off.
So you and I both getting down there on a day that they're actually running the machine like becomes an issue.
Yeah. Because I'm sure they don't run it after 5 o'clock. And
No. No, these guys work Monday through Friday.
yeah, during the day.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
These guys are like postal workers. They take holidays off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He has not seen the canning line. Nick wasn't there the other 2 times.
You can't tell me that because I'm always there. You know how much time I spend there?
He does spend a lot of time there.
You haven't seen the canning line. All right. Well, come take a visit.
Does he have a ABE canning line?
Yeah, he has an Abe line. It's the same as
Peg leg?
It's the same as Peg Legs. It's the same as Ryan's. Only there's all of those are 3 heads. And
Mhm. His is 4.
head. But all of those systems can be upgraded to 5 heads.
Mm.
And in fact, all of those systems can have a second line put on like in tandem.
To do like a...
They're all the same.
Yeah.
It's all Chinese.
Yeah.
Thursday is canning day usually.
What time?
I have Thursdays off.
Well, I could take a Thursday off to drink beer.
So that it all comes down to you. You don't get
Yeah.
to drink beer. You have to work. You know how much canning day is.
My canning day consists of weighing cans.
Weighing cans, packing off cans, and
Yes.
drinking low fills.
Exactly.
Right, but this is also a bigger,
It is.
high-class brewery.
I'm sure they...
And we don't get a drink on the job
No.
at every place. No.
How many cans do you do a canning day, Dan?
Well,
how many cans?
their fermenters are 3 times to
yeah.
6 times bigger than
I mean,
ours.
even our canning days are good days. 1,400 cans.
Right.
That's a lot of cans.
Mhm.
3 times that is.
But it takes us an hour.
Yeah.
Because we're way oversized.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
canning days at Flyover, I'm sure, are 4 to 5 hour ordeals.
Dan, do you self-load your cans? Because when we went to Peg Leg, they had a person self-loading their cans, which sounded a little silly to me.
They do not. I've got to take you down there.
Yeah.
I've got to give you to it. They don't.
They don't self-load their cans
they-
one at a time. Huh?
He shoves a pallet in there, and the pallet takes care of it from there. And then it goes down this, cool little little...
Does it go through a water, or do they water clean?
No, I don't think they're rinsing the cans. I don't think they have a rinser.
I remember you talking about that when we were there, about how they're kind of getting away from
Mm-hmm.
rinsing the cans.
Yeah. Some places are maybe doing, ionized air, just to, make sure there's no dust in there.
Yeah.
No static.
Mm-hmm.
But Thursday is canning day. Man.
We'd have to work out something. I think that'd be fun.
It's up to you. I
Yeah,
have
I
Thursdays
know.
off.
Yeah, I know you do. I think that'd be fun, though.
Yeah, it is fun. Helping out is always fun. I enjoy helping.
I do, too. Just, like I said earlier, just seeing how other people do things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we do, but theirs is different.
Yeah.
It's the same
That's
thing.
kind of like how I learned how to run a canning machine. I went and helped Ryan. Before I even had a canning machine.
Mm-hmm.
6 months before I had a canning machine. I was like, let me come help you. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And
just seeing how it works.
within 3 or 4 hours, I was like, okay, I know how it works. I don't know, the ins and outs, a little,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And at one point, Ryan left. and I'm there.
You're running the canning machine?
I'm by myself. I loaded a pallet, and we had a jam, and I fixed the jam, and I pushed the buttons, and I was like packing off at the same time, and then like I was doing it by myself.
Do they have a labeler on their canner? Flyover?
Flyover? Yes.
Yeah. I figured they probably did. Yeah. With that amount, you almost have to, because you're spending like...
Dude, we spend 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 times that size, you spend a couple days just sitting there canning or labeling.
In fact, they have a hot stamper for the labels too. So labels go through, and then it goes through the hot stamper, and the stamper like it's canned on
the can.
Right. We looked at the Hellcat, and it said canned on 10/8 or whatever it was. Like that was actually pressed into the label after it was put on, or maybe it was like. Maybe the hot stamper is on the labeling machine, so as it's coming through, that's probably how it is. The hot stamper is probably
after.
Before it gets put on a can.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, right. I need to go to the bathroom.
Alex doesn't know how to take a day off. When was the last time you took a day off?
Broncos game.
The Broncos game. We got football games tomorrow. The printer, it's a printer before the label goes on. Yep. Printer. Oh, that means it's ink. So it's just white ink. I thought it was a hot stamp. It was kind of like melted in. I never actually felt it, but just looking at it, that's what I thought. I think making the new guys make the beer is a fantastic idea. Making them learn what it is that they've learned. I think Brett knows more than you think he does. I think he could do it. And ultimately, like, that's the goal. You're not going to be there forever, and the assistant's going to take over. So the assistant should know what it is you're doing. And when you come down with the crud and Hellas needs made, you're like, dude, you got to do it today. You don't got no choice because it needs to be done today. You got to teach him. I think he's interested. I don't know. I've had like one kind of extensive conversation with him, and like he knows what he's doing, and he seems very interested in what it is that you guys are doing. How big? 11 to 12. 11 to 12. You got to try the brown. We tried my brown today. 719 brown. Nutty. Tried to teach Alex a little bit about tasting. I'm sure you'll go back and you'll listen. But I think something along those lines. Maybe a little bit sweeter than what it is, because we are going to age it. Have you talked Joe into Brett? That's what we need. We need a Brettanomyces. Have you ever heard of a Brettanomyces Pilsner? Oak-aged Brettanomyces fermented Pilsner. That's my new thing, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Alex.
What?
Are you done with your beers?
I am done with my
All right.
beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm Nick.
I'm Alex.
And we're the Brew Guys.
We'll see you next time.
Whenever that is. I don't know what it's going to be. Thanks for watching. Good job, buddy.
I enjoyed that.
It was a good time.